Shahrazad, there are a lot of women out there who think you don't like us, you don't like black women.
Oh, yes, I do. I love black women. I'm a black woman myself, and I got 5 daughters and 4 sisters, so that would, be ridiculous of anybody to assume that. As I said, we have just never had anybody challenge us on our behavior. We've never had anybody to say, well, let's look at what we do. We know what he does, and he's wrong in a lot of what he does. But his wrongness, his guilt does not ensure our innocence. We have a share in the problems that we have in the black community. And just because we are dressed up and have a job does not mean that we don't practice some aberrant behaviors that end up infecting our homes and breaking up our relationships with our men and helping to hold him down. That's all I'm saying. So everyone can look at themselves. Every man can look at his own woman. Everyone must study what slavery did to the black woman. We have never looked at it as an independent study.
May I ask you, on what do you base your information?
Just research, being a black woman myself, living here in the country, and I interviewed over 3,000 people. I interviewed 379 black men who were married to or dating white women, over 100 black women who were married to or dating white men, and a little over 2,000 black men and over 1,000 black women. And what I found is that we don't have a control group. There was no point in me listing all of their names because we don't have one set of Negroes that we could point at and say, okay, well, this particular group is not affected by slavery. All of us are affected by it. We just have not been able to identify the manifestation of that behavior and be able to trace it back to what the root was and how we got that way. A lot of the behavior we practice because it's trendy, it's popular in this country. And so we think that that's just the thing to do.
Do you fault the black man for anything?
Yes, absolutely.
Briefly,
I fought him for lying.
For lying?
Yes.
About?
All kinds of things. He won't tell us the truth about his life because he knows that we can't handle the truth. And so he will lie to us about his activities and his life because it preserves the peace for him, he thinks. But we know that lies don't build a relationship. They create doubt, suspicion, and fear. And then we exhibit those behavior traits. And fear in the female is always translated as hostility. And so, see, it's a locked-in circle that I'm trying to get us to look at how these things are connected and what they produce.
Shahrazad.
Y'all can hear me. I fixed this mic. Can y'all hear me now? Oh, my bad. What about now? Can y'all hear me now? I'm getting text messages and emails and everything. Can y'all hear me now? All right, bet. Thanks, love. I appreciate that. So let me start all over. First and foremost, this mic is a little jinky. If y'all would like to go to my Cash App, y'all can help a brother out and get a new mic. You know what I'm saying? Nah, peace, family. I'm sorry about that. My apologies for the technical difficulties. So tonight, first and foremost, I was really speaking about the weather here, man. It's been off the chain. It's like really it's tropical. It's like humid. It's like almost like rainforesty in terms of like what we're dealing with. But I appreciate everybody checking up on the brother, making sure that y'all can hear me now. Listen, fam. We got a shindig here for tonight. But before we get started, I want to recognize peace and power to all the family. The building. This coming weekend, we'll be in Mississippi in Senatobia for the 6th annual Building Power Summit with the Black Power Movement, as well as the Ashe Academy and the Oasis Learning Center, Literacy Center. So we'll be out there. Myself, Sister Mila will be in the building. So if y'all want to check us out, man, come to Northern Mississippi, literally a half hour away from Memphis, Tennessee. So we'll be out there. We're gonna have hopefully a productive summit as usual. We're gonna talk about a lot of things concerning the community, and we hope that everybody gets a chance to pull up, man. One of the things that I think is real important for us to recognize in regards to the topic we're going to get into tonight is this topic has been something I've been thinking about for a long time, a very long time. And, what I'm saying, I hope that, we walk through this together, you know what I'm saying? But, like I said, peace and power. Let me recognize the family. I see my brother, Patrick Irvin, is in the building. What's going on, Pat? I see you got my brother Hiru in the building. What's going on, blood? Ogun, man. Let me tell you something about that. As a child of Ogun, man, I had lots. Let's talk, brother. Let's talk. Sister Melissa Norris is in the building. Sister Tiana Mills in the building. Peace and power to you, family. As always, my beloved Mila Renee is in the building. Y'all make sure y'all check our channel out. She is getting it in, and especially when it comes to her shorts. Her shorts are just exploding all over the place, as well as my sister Crystal Denise is in the building. So, and she'll also be in Mississippi. So, family, let's talk about why I came up with tonight's topic, right? Because I had to try to figure out, like, when I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and not just listen to a lot of podcasts, but I'm a thinker. And I examine situations and circumstances, and I had to examine the situation. Hey, what's going on, King? All right, peace and power to you, brother. All right, brother Garrett, peace and power to you, fam. Appreciate you. I have been examining something for a minute now, and it took me back to, our elder, Shahrazad Ali. And one of the things Sister Shahrazad Ali, brought up in the 90s, in the late 80s, early 90s, was this whole notion of examining what the institution of racism and slavery had done in regards to Black women. We had examined it from a victim standpoint. We understood that Black women were treated as, lust objects for white men. They were treated they were murdered and treated harshly by white women. We understand that Black women had to sort of like take over a lot of positions. So this is not one of those podcasts when we're going to talk about Black women from a perspective of not actually going through anything. The institution of slavery, chattel slavery here in America, the African slave trade in itself was horrible. Nobody got out of it unscathed. All right. Even though, and when you listen to the revisionist history of a lot of our sisters, they will make presumptions that Black men actually joined in, you know what I'm saying? And the partying with, slave masters and the racist white supremacists that actually enforced the institution of slavery. Slavery, the institution of slavery happened because we lost wars, bad deals with African kingdoms were made with Europeans. And not only did they enlist us and sell us into slavery for access to weapons and things of that nature, but they also ended up becoming colonized because they dropped the ball. And that's why Africa is currently in the state that it's in right now. But what I want to really get into is how the white man has created the modern day Black woman. All right. And as Sister Shahrazad Ali said, we have not examined, peace and power to you, Brother Eric. Appreciate you, bro. We have not examined thoroughly the Black woman's role in the destruction of Black families. We've consistently talked about Black men, from a perspective of not being around, not being available, not being protectors, deadbeat fathers, being abusive to Black women and things of that nature. We've consistently addressed those, the color purple in the Black men, if you will, over the last 20-something years. Last 50-something years. All right, we've been having this conversation. So, but let's examine more so what has happened to Black women. And and it goes back to understanding how central intelligence agencies work, how the Federal Bureau of Investigation works, how the other alphabet agencies work, how state police and local law enforcement work when it comes to turning a member of its community into an asset. And then, as an asset, learning how to work an asset so that the asset then becomes an enemy to its own state. The asset, you know what I'm saying? Greetings, Sister Tiffany. I'm glad to see you in the building, sis. The asset then is used for information, is used to set people up, is used to sometimes, infiltrate, is used to sabotage progress. I mean, we know about COINTELPRO and what that did to the Panther Party, but not just the Panther Party, but to the Black Power movement and things. We know about how the infiltration was put in place to destabilize any movement. We understand that the infiltration was created or was allowed for J. Edgar Hoover to run amok in terms of his plans to make sure that there would never be a centralized or stabilized Black family unit and Black community, that the Black family itself, a powerful Black family, or Black people who fought for their own nationhood, nation builders, were considered the enemies, the greatest threat to the democracy of America, as he once stated. So, you know what I'm saying? I think that we really need to understand that the Black woman has been handled in a similar manner, as if you place an agent who might have been from Iraq or Afghanistan, you put that person, you turn that person, you get them to be complicit, you start rewarding them with trinkets, you start offering them a better lifestyle. When they did COINTELPRO, those people were getting paid. When they showed the Negro that that disrupted the Black Panther Party in Chicago, that Negro went on to join other movements, even if it aided his soul to the point for which he walked in front of a truck one day on a highway, ironically, J. Edgar Hoover Highway in Chicago. What we're seeing right now in the responses from Black women in our community is we're seeing the results of Black women that have been handled by white supremacists. And now she's in legion with that man, with that system, with that program, and against the betterment or the better nature of our community. This whole notion of not needing men, this whole notion of not raising men, this goes way back. And there are two types of Black women, from, if you want to talk about from the origins of this country, colonial America, if you want to talk about the origins of the transatlantic slave trade and the creations of the plantations, there are two types of Black women. And I'm going to go back to the actual thumbnail for tonight's program, but there are two types of Black women. And hold on. Two types of Black women. You have, on one hand, Queen Harriet Tubman and Cecilia Fatima. Queen Harriet Tubman and Cecilia Fatima were queen warriors. They were warrior queens. They didn't raise, when they had a chance to have access to Black men, or Black males, they didn't raise Black males to be effeminate, emasculated, or fearful. There are numerous stories of Harriet Tubman pulling out her pistol and putting it in the face of men who were showing traits of being cowards, traits of being fearful, traits of being possible traitors. Cecilia Fatima, the queen mother of what's now called the Haitian Revolution. Cecilia Fatima was on plantations all throughout, from Jamaica, all throughout, what is now known as Haiti, but was then the island of Hispaniola. She was there sowing the seeds of revolution. She was there raising both men and women to be warriors in the fight that was yet to come. We got, in addition to that, Queen Mother Toya. Queen Mother Toya was the one who trained Jean-Jacques Dessalines, to being an African warrior. She herself was a descendant of Dahomey, and she was a Agoji warrior. Y'all might be familiar with that term because there's a movie coming out called Warrior King that speaks to the Dahomey warriors. All right. They were raising kings. They were raising fighters. They were raising African men, and they were attesting to the African spirit of warriorhood that had to be developed, because Africa was not a warrior continent. There was not a system of warriors until there was a need to develop them. I was just having this conversation with my good Baba, Professor James Small, 2 weeks ago. But when it was time to reach back, and that spirit of Ogu, that spirit of Shango, all the spirit of the African deities, warrior deities, were put into a place. And the ladies, Oshun, they understood the warrior nature that was necessary and needed. And if you can see in the thumbnail, those two queen mothers birthed the likes of a Malcolm X, who not only was his mother a queen warrior who was taken to task, unfortunately, and placed in a mental institution after the murder, assassination, the Klan assassination of Malcolm's father. But that spirit that was in Malcolm resided. His sister became the queen warrior in his life, and she made sure Malcolm wasn't no punk, and she became the primary benefactor, the primary funder of Malcolm's various trips across the country and across the world. All right, we can go along the list. All right, but we also have, on the other hand, the mammy. And the mammy, mother of the plantation, as we see this picture of Hattie McDaniel, as she played that role to the point of winning an Oscar in the 1939 portrayal, Going with the Wind, became the perfect character for what Black motherhood was, as she tailored to the needs of the white family that she was taking care of, was given and entrusted with raising the white man's children, even breastfeeding their children. Nonetheless, became a sexual objectification of the owners of those plantations. And we can go back to the tales of Thomas Jefferson and his exploits, of his the bed wenches that he created on his plantation. And notice I said created. I didn't say these sisters went there willingly to become this. It was from a place of survival. But in this place of survival, how did they raise Black boys on plantations? They raised Black boys on plantations to be docile, to be emasculated. They raised these black boys on plantations to be non-threatening to the plantation masters, to those who were in charge of the plantations. The mammies, they were house slaves, so they became house Negroes. They also, as I said, raised the males to be docile and emasculated, but they also received favor. They also received favor from the plantation masters, from the white supremacist plantation owners. Think about this. And I know it kind of flips the script because we had a lot of these too. Think about the movie Django. Think about the movie Django and the character Stephen, played by Samuel L. Jackson. Think about his relationship with Leonardo DiCaprio. And how in the public, he was a fiddling, giggling, dancing, jigaboo Negro. But behind closed doors, he curried favor and was able to talk to Leonardo DiCaprio as though he was his son. That was typically the role of the mammy. The mammy would have children, and she would also become children to the many bastards that was created on those plantations. So, by the many different fathers, no one even knew who the fathers were. Why do I talk about these two types of black women? Because you can see the results within the community in terms of the outcomes of these women. I bring it up because our community is in a desolate place right now. Our community is not from a place where we can actually survive the current pattern of behavior. See, the Hattie Mays and the Hattie McDaniels and the Mammies outnumbered the Cecilia Fatimas and the Harriet Tubmans by the thousands. So for every Harriet Tubman, you had 1,000 Hattie Mays, or Hattie McDaniels, excuse me. For every Cecilia Fatima, for every Cecilia Fatima, these people know I'm busy. For every Cecilia Fatima, we have 1,000 plantation mammies. And within these plantation mammies, what have they raised? They've raised black women to be loyal to the system of white supremacy. They've raised sisters and trained them and handled them to say, I'm going to put you in a position where you don't need a man. All you have to do is forsake your allegiance to that man publicly. Because the system of welfare, the system of government assistance, the philanthropists are going to generate situations in which you'll always have a financial backing. Now, This pitch wasn't made to any other woman. It wasn't made to the Native American woman. It's not even made today to the Latino woman. She won't take it. Oh, she'll take the food stamps and she'll take the medical care, the Medicaid and all that. She'll take that. But she won't forsake her man to do so. And see, the disdain, and you hear in a lot of talking places, specifically pink pill talking spaces, is that people like Cynthia G, that black men are just defeated, black men can't compete with the other men in the world, this, that, and the other. But none of those other men have ever had to deal with their women not supporting them. None of them. In Japanese internment camps, you didn't have Japanese women saying that, you know, we're going to leave our men and try to make a side deal with America during the time of World War II. Even now, you have prison camps that have separated Latino families coming south of the border. They haven't done those things. They haven't abandoned their families. They haven't put a price tag on the value or the worth of their men in terms of cooperation and submission. And they have never publicly staged or created platforms for which the disrespect and the disregard of their men were in question. And this is why I say this is not all sisters. We do have black women, and literally in the chat right now, who spiritually come from that Harriet Tubman, Cecilia Fatima bloodline, spirit lines. We do have them. But as these sisters will tell you, they're few and far in between. And often, what you'll see is that when these sisters start talking about the benefits of uplifting black men and the reasons why we should be looking at black men and building with black men as women, as they would say, these women get harassed. These women get treated with disregard and disrespect. These women get bullied and many times painted into a corner for which they sometimes have to bow out because they realize they're dealing with lost causes. And here's the problem with most of what's happening right now is that 90% of black boys being raised in our communities are being raised in single parent households. And 90% of that number are households run by black women. Why do I bring that up? Why do I bring up that? Because these black boys, really don't have a chance. You see, because the women put far more energy in investing in futures for their daughters, so their daughters don't need a man. Meanwhile, because there's no men in the house, and I'm going to break that part down too. There's a reason why there's no men in the house. Several reasons. It's not because black men are choosing not to do so. I think I've had a pretty good track record myself. And I can tell you that there's many brothers, good brothers, solid brothers, who have had to deal in relationship with women. They were in serious relationship, considering marriage. The woman got pregnant and she aborted the child. Meanwhile, The hobosexual man of choice is who she chooses to procreate with. In that particular time, she develops a moral compass that makes her unwilling to consider what was then a federal right to have an abortion, because she wanted that man. And I can tell you from conversation after conversation that I've had with women about the men they choose to have babies with. There are two things that come out of those conversations. One of the things that come out of those conversations are that those men weren't, that those men pretended to be something that they were not. Although those men already had children by other women, various other women. But to that woman, they tried to be something that they were not. And then the second part came. So when I say, why would you choose those brothers and why would you lump me in with those brothers when you start critiquing black men? The response would be, well, you need to come over here and fix your homeboy because he ain't acting right. In other words, I still would choose the fuck boy. I just want you to straighten him out because that's what a real man would do. But you didn't have a child with a real man. You had a child with a man boy. And the type of man boys that have been raised for generation after generation after generation. See, these are the curses we talk about. When people talk about breaking generational curses, these are the generational curses we need to consider. And there's a television show right now. Well, it was a television show that came out in 1986. It was actually called The Crew of 1986. And it was about teenage parents in the city of Newark, New Jersey. In the beginning, they had a round table discussion with about 15 black girls. Of those 15 black girls, they were all pregnant. And when the host asked which one of you would be would consider getting married to the father of your child, only one young lady raised her hand. These are teenagers, 16 years old, 15 years old, 17 years old. And then when you got to one of the young sisters who is one of the featured people on the show, that young sister said, I don't need a father. I didn't have a father and I turned out all right. My baby doesn't need a father and we'll be all right. Why do you think she thought she would be all right? It's because she knew she had access to public assistance. And how does she know she had access to public assistance? Because she herself was the product of a teenage pregnancy. She lived in a house with her mother as they began to raise her child. And when we start thinking about these things, we have to start looking at the potential crime rate and things of that nature. Look at the chaos our cities are in and start asking ourselves, who is raising these children? Who are you married to, sister? And why is it that just like on the plantation, you're choosing the system over the man? And then, and just like on the plantation, you rather fuck bucks. The bedroom might as well be a stall because that's the same thing going down. And I have an article called "The Real Root Causes of Violence and the Breakdown of Marriage, Family, and what's the title? What's the part of the title? But Breakdown Marriage and Community. And I want to read a small part of this to y'all, okay? Because this is a really important part of this story that needs to be taken into consideration. All right? Because this talks about what I'm going to bring up in a few minutes, and that's the avid crime rate that we're dealing with right now. Okay. Let me see. Is this the part? I want to make sure I'm reading the right part because this is a very long article, and I was reading it earlier. And it's funny how when when you're looking for topics and you're looking for subject matter, how that these things just fall into your hands. You know, but it broke down something, in regards to it broke down something, that needs to be fully examined in regards to the family. And I'm just trying to find the right quote because I had it earlier, but now it is when you read things on your phone. You know what I'm saying? You know how it is when you read things on your phone. But it broke down something. Okay, here we go, right here. All right, here we go. So, and I'm gonna open it up some more, so it might, have to come back down. All right. I want y'all to be able to read this. It's talking about out of wedlock mothers and children. But and I'm trying to get to the point. Hopefully, y'all not getting busy by this. But I'm trying to get to the point that I was just at. Okay, you passed it. Trying to get to the point that I was just at 2 seconds ago before I decided to make the screen a little larger so that y'all can see what I'm seeing. But what it does is it speaks to nope, not that. Here we go, right here. Okay. Existing literature in the top normative includes a study by Mack that found himself belief in law that was negatively associated with the measures of delinquency for both boys and girls. Mack further reported that the empathy are inversely related to the seriousness of vandalism and assault for girls and cheating, and assault for boys. Agnew found that the belief was it's good to be honest and avoid cheating. Hold on. This ain't the one I was reading. Hold tight, y'all. Here we go. I believe this is it. Okay. You see this long extraction here? This is the one I was reading earlier. All right. So we're talking about a study, right? We're talking about a study in which, we're going to talk about the adverse effect of how women, single parent mothers were and the crime statistics that most people in prisons most males in particular come from single parent homes. All right. Damn it, I keep doing this. So I'm trying to make it big enough for y'all to see what's going on here. Because I really want y'all to read this, but I'm gonna do this while off screen. But I just want y'all to understand what the article spoke to, though, is the fact that the biggest problem in the Black community in regards to crime statistics and things of that nature had more to do with the fact of the breakup of the family home. Single parents. And when you look at places like PG County had to just recently enforce a curfew, 30-day curfew in PG County. Why? Because we have children doing vandalism, creating crime throughout school hours and things of that nature. In an article that I read earlier today, one of the comments in the article stated the fact that if the parent, not parents, but if the parent was more accountable for the behavior of their children, then we would have less issues of criminal activity during school hours. You understand what I'm saying? So saying without saying, PG County is about 80% Black. 80% Black. Who do you think the parents are? And we're talking about parents that are like well-to-do parents. These are the mothers that say, I got money, so I don't need a man to help me raise my child. But the problem is your children are still out there committing crimes. Your children are still out there becoming vandals in a society that will punish them harshly. And what we have is too many boys who move around like bad bitches. Well, they're allowed to move around like bad bitches. One, because they see that in their mother, boss bitch. They see that in her. They also see it in their sisters. They are raised to be dependent. Let me explain something to you. When we go back to Queen Mother Toya, as she was raising Dessalines, she didn't raise Dessalines to be dependent. She raised him to be a warrior. She raised Dessalines to be a warrior. You see, and then we can go back to not even in our community. Let's go to the white community for a minute. And as we look, not just to the daughters of the United Daughters of the Confederacy, for which I have brought up many times on this show, but let's talk about the mother of Frank and Jesse James. Frank and Jesse James was in a single parent household, raised by their mother. Now, the circumstances of whatever happened to their father, I do not know. I will look into it, and I'll have that soon. But the bottom line is she raised their son, her sons, to be warriors against the Union Army, against the forces of the Union States. See, while the history books will cite, the Wild Wild West and the bandits of the Wild Wild West, and you'll talk about Frank and Jesse James, and you'll see movies like The Young Guns and things of that nature. The true nature of the matter is they were not just bandits. They were seen as heroes in their community who still was fighting the war of Northern aggression. So much so that the mother helped them ambush what would now be a FBI agent. Back then, it was the Templetons. Was it Templetons? I think it was the Templetons. But they were an outfit that was paid by the government to bring back criminals. So they were like the origins. Somebody help me out with the name there. But they were like a government agency they were a private agency out of Chicago that was send paid vigilantes to go into townships and take down so-called bandits and enemies of the state. But she raised her sons to be warriors. At the age of 12 years old, my mother is meek and docile as a woman you'd ever meet. Told me that I would have to be a man in this world. That I couldn't be soft. I couldn't be weak. That I had to be a man in this world. She told me that at the age of 12. But I know grown men who still need to borrow $20 off of their mothers. You're right, Sister Crystal. The ISIS papers speaks about that thoroughly. In fact, the movie Baby Boy talks about how black men were raised to be little boys. In the verbiage and the language, I'm going to the crib. My girl, I'm gonna go see my mama. And things of that nature. We have to truly understand that these types of black women, that these are the two types of black women that are fighting for control of our community right now. And it's ironic. Well, now I won't even say ironic. They're actually at war with one another, as we talked in many shows before about the warfare going on in the sisterhood. But one of the craziest things, that we really need to address going forward is this notion, this concept, and understand that our women who seem to be married to the state, where are you going to go when the state turns its back on you? You see, when you study European history, as I have, you understand something very simple about European history. They consider the women of other tribes that lose in battle, lose in war, They consider them to be concubines, property, spoils of war, to do what they will with. Sexually, they'll impregnate them, they'll leave them alone. You know, they're around muses and pleasure, but after a while, they'll discard them. Y'all better pay attention to what's going on in Illinois right now. They're about to pass a law on January 1st, and I haven't quite read the entire thing, but from what I understand, they're sort of like removing the police authority to remove vagrants from a person's house. So if somebody breaks into your house, the cops can show up and give them a citation for breaking in their house, but it's going to be up to you to kick them out. Who have we been seeing targeted since COVID-19, since the year 2020? Who have we been seeing targeted with people trying to run up in their houses? People trying to, rob them. People, people carjacking them. People putting paper towels and handkerchiefs and shit in their cars, so that, they possibly get sick or whatever, and then they can rob them or do something worse, perhaps. You know what I'm saying? We better recognize, specifically women, that the time for being alone is over. And I'm seeing sisters don't have the gumption to say, yeah, we fucked up. We messed up. We were wrong. We're going to take some steps to correct our behavior. We're going to go get some therapy so that we can get out of this masculine nature, this anti-black male misandry that we've been practicing has been detrimental to the future and the growth of our community. You got sisters out there trying the soft era, the soft girl era, and all that other crap that, because it's not out of a place of love, care, and concern. It's out of a place of desperation. A lot of sisters recognize that they're in peril right now. They can see the tea leaves. They can read the tea leaves. They see how much their rent is costing. They see how much the hustling and the working 3 jobs to try to keep up. But they also see the danger. See, the safety and security is the biggest thing. It ain't necessarily about the rent. Everybody's going to have to deal with that, black men included. I deal with it myself. Seeing the spike in utility bills and cost, and seeing the spike in the cost of living and the price of a gallon of gas and the price of a gallon of milk and things of that nature. I see it myself as a man. I know I got to deal with that. But the one thing I don't have to deal with as much is worrying about being accosted, being stalked, and somebody trying to take advantage of me. But a lot of sisters are starting to recognize it. That's why you have all these movements. And the soft girl movement is not like an original thought. I keep telling y'all, a lot of sisters are lost and wandering in the wilderness and they're looking for signs from white women. White women currently have what's called, it's not called the soft movement. It's called the Victoria movement. And it's the same thing. White women recognizing their femininity and speaking softly and not coming across as masculine and things of that nature. And shit, but you know what I'm saying? And to show you how this, like how desperate a lot of sisters have gotten. Have any of you, and I was gonna come to the article, but I pretty much explained it. So, but have any of you been paying attention to the guy who dated 50 women from 50 different states? And the sister that was angry because he didn't date any black women? Yeah, see, the desperation of saying that you're going to divest, you don't need black men, and you just keep doubling down on that. And now white men are going out of their way to say they don't want you. Now, me personally, I prefer for a person's results to be their results. I don't argue with anybody that says they want to date other people. They don't want to date black men. As far as I'm concerned, the myth or the stereotype of black men having to compete for black women has been grossly overstated. The bottom line is there are more black women out there than there are capable black men. Now if we want to consistently put arbitrary, requirements in terms of what you need, then I say myself, good luck with all of that, because these brothers are finding other options. I myself will never tell a brother to date somebody that's not a sister. But what I will say is I can't stand in between you and your happiness. And I'm a black nationalist. I believe that the only way black people come out of this alive, not unscathed, but alive, is if we start building black families and we start creating a culture, black first, race first, and understanding the need to build black nationalism under the umbrella of the African diaspora. But hey, some of us have too much pride. A lot of brothers are feeling some type of way about how things went down over the last few years, and the fact that there's not any contrition from the sisters. And which speaks to the fact that most sisters still don't respect brothers, but they're fearful now because they always thought they had black men as a backup plan. There's no backup plan, sis. When these brothers leave out, they're gone. And they ain't coming back. A lot of these brothers have begun to show some disdain. You know what I'm saying? And you say, brother, brother Eric, I hear what you're saying. You say, brothers, do you think desperation may lead to some humility? I'm gonna put this I'm gonna put this up there for everybody to look at. Hold on. You said, brothers, do you think that desperation may lead to humility and maybe find common ground with one another? Oh, yes, and me, brother. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. If we're talking our generation, then perhaps. But what we have to understand is these children have been raised under black women who are not race loyal. So they were not raised to be race loyal. They're not coming back. And I'm not sitting here promoting this or gloating over this. This is a sad state of affairs. I've had this conversation with my nephews. I've had this conversation with young brothers that I've counseled, young brothers I've had in therapy. I've had this conversation with young brothers, college students as we speak. I currently work on a college campus. I don't bring it up because my job is, I don't like to cross those wires. But I'm trying to tell you, these brothers they're not race loyal because they were not raised in families that preached race loyalty. And in fact, many of these young brothers were raised in houses with mothers, single mothers, who berated men, who were disrespectful to men, disrespectful to them, demeaned them, tried to emasculate them, to the point where that painted and burned an image of what living a life with black woman as a monogamous partner, black woman as a wife. It painted an image in them that has traumatized these young brothers. And the mothers, the women, the older sisters, the people they have to deal with, the little girls that they grew up with, don't have any contrition. They don't think they've done anything wrong. And even if they have, their egos won't allow them to acknowledge it and do something about it. Brother, I wish it was the other way around. But here's a question I have for you, not just you, for everybody. Do you think that these women, our sisters, who have lived this life, who have been very manipulative and destructive to the ego of black men, do you think that they themselves are going to be sincere in this a situation of desperation? Because I'm telling you what I'm seeing, most of these women would rather depend on their brothers and their sons, and some of them, if their father is still old enough, they would rather depend on them to come to their aid, rather to acknowledge that they need to change. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not gloating about this. I'm not promoting this. I'm just reporting the news. That's what I'm doing. I want to see the black family back together. I want to see black men. I have a beautiful black woman who is beautiful in so many ways that nobody else can see. But I tell you, before she came into my life, I didn't think there were any more left. So her coming into my life is proof positive that we do have some sisters that are what we need as men. The problem is, do we have enough? That's the question, the problem. And I think that, we need more sisters to come forward to address the fact that, they have been raised as a Hattie Mae. Or Hattie McDaniels, excuse me. They have been raised as an Aunt Jemima. And you think about all the television shows we were raised on in the 70s and the 80s. What's happening? Where the father was considered a gigolo. And, the mother, Mabel, was a obese woman. We're talking about That's My Mama, and those shows, all these shows projecting single women. And even in the show you have as a nuclear family, Good Times, they're struggling in the fucking projects. And show after show, picture white Jesus on the wall being worshipped. You know what I'm saying? We really need to understand. Like I said, black women have been handled like a CIA agent handles his asset, like a DAA agent handles his asset, like somebody from the ATF handles his asset, like your local law enforcement handles their assets, their snitches, and things of that nature. I'm going to pay you to tell me some information. I'm going to pay you to set this drug deal up. I'm going to pay you to infiltrate this particular drug organization. I'm going to provide benefits for you. I'm going to do all sorts of things. All you have to do is turn on those you're supposed to protect. And I'm not talking about protecting criminals and things of that nature, but I'm talking about the same mentality has been taken, given to black women. And black women have not even cashed in on the things that were promised. I was just watching Sister Kendra D earlier, Crimson Cure. And she brought back the fact that that $10 billion promise from Goldman Sachs to black women to build black women businesses has never been answered. That it was just promo, that black women still have not been able to cash in on that. That these government agencies are withdrawing their protection of black women. That new law and policy in Chicago that I'm talking about is going to make black women in particular very vulnerable, because people think twice about going into a house with a white man, because chances are that white man, he has a gun. Black women are terrified to have guns. And when they do have guns, they start shooting each other. Or they do silly shit like turn their brothers into kamikazes and send them into houses with people waiting for them with guns, like the situation that happened in Detroit a few months ago. Or they get mad because they got some cold fries at McDonald's, so they call their sons up and FaceTime their sons so their son can come down, and now their son is serving time for not one murder, but possibly 2 murders, because he killed one person, and in the process, when they caught them, they realized he had already they've been looking for him for the murder of somebody else in that neighborhood in Brooklyn. The list goes on. Meanwhile, black women are getting flued out to all these locations with all these guys from Instagram. And what's happening is these black women are coming up dead. All these white zaddies and stuff like that, get them drugged up, end up leaving them dead in the house. And nobody goes to jail because the person's considered a nice person in the community. Now, I don't say it ain't happening to brothers and shit. Like you take your chances when you roll the dice with Delilah. Shit. But I'm just saying. The stock of black men that are produced, and let's understand, women are the first teachers of culture. They're the first teachers, and they're the harbingers of culture. Whatever they teach those boys will envelop and become men based on that, whatever they're fed. And when you show the proper love and care to those boys and teach them about manhood principles, because you don't have to be a man to be in that house. It helps. But if there are men around and she allows those men to do masculine, have allow those boys to absorb that masculine energy and witness their masculine frame, you can still produce men. But how many times have we seen, just like on the plantation, when the mammies decide they don't want their boys to be doing anything? He can't play football because it's too physical. He might get hurt. He can't play sports. He can't, go places with his uncle. Why? Because his uncle might say something to him and hurt his feelings. He can't do all those different things, be around men, unless it's a football coach. And chances are the mom is flirting with the damn football coach, or some type of sexual exchange is being exhibited in front of the son. Either way. When you raise males to be emasculated, they turn into bad bitches. And when you have bad bitch energy or bad bitch mentality and testosterone that naturally flows, no matter how much artificial estrogen they try to give us, with hand sanitizers and water bottles and things that nature that leach, bisphenol 9, look it up, or bisphenol A, excuse me. These boys will go out in the street and have emotional cataclysms, and their propensity for violence is so strong that once they get caught up in those situations and it escalates, somebody got to die. And that's what you've been seeing. And the logic isn't even there. That's why you have so many people coming to a goddamn block party and shooting up the whole block, even though they're only looking for one person. Meanwhile, 5 or 6 other people get shot. Now that's been characterized as a mass shooting. You see, what'd you say, love? You said, let me put that on the screen. So I will also, okay. I'm going to think that brothers will choose the equivalent to the F boy they have children to be. Hold on, let me try to read this again, baby. I also would think brothers will also often, many brothers will choose the equivalents to the F boy to have children with, be with, because they are driven by the wrong things. Exactly. Driven by the wrong things. You got these guys out there, they're showing their underwear, posing, their drawers are showing. These are grown-ass men. And women are losing their fucking minds over it, which speaks to another thing, that we don't talk about, and that's female pedophilia. That happens often because boys are not considered young males or whatever, and so it's okay to have sex with a 14-year-old if he's hung like a horse. Yeah. Plantation mammy shit. Yeah. Thank you, Sister Pretty Pig. I appreciate that. Appreciate your response. Sister Rose in the building. Appreciate you, sis. Said that response was to Sister Crystal. Oh, and the good women are out here, but not the type, not on the two types. I fully agree with everything said on the show tonight. It's a powerful discussion point. Thank you. Thank you, love. And listen, you know, I'm trying to tell y'all, sis, and you know, you're rewarding these boys, you're rewarding the F boys because they're the ones, so-called, they got swag, but I think it's another word that ends with ag, but I'm not going to say it here. And those become, you know, the models for the future generation. But let me say something else too, because when I'm gonna go back to this, and I'm gonna have to close out on this. You know, God damn, did you just say, hold on? You know what? I've seen this. You said some boys started wearing bonnets to school like they might. Bruh, I've seen it. I've seen men wearing bonnets and shit, and then they be all up in their hair like a little twitch, you know, patting their shit. I've seen it. Crazy. Made me forget what the fuck I was gonna say. Oh my God. Ew, Eric, brother Eric, you can't be just pulling up doing that, bro. You can't be just pulling up, yeah. You can't be just pulling up doing that, bro. Shots fired, baby. Shots fired. God damn. I was gonna close out the show on something too. Fuck. Bruh, man. That's raising them to be bad twitches. That's gonna be my new word, twitches, because you know the other word, you know. But fuck, I can't even remember. I'm gonna go back in the comments. Hopefully I can remember what the hell I want to say. Bro, man. Unfortunately, and Baba Curtis, I appreciate your response, brother. I appreciate it. Who's raising our children? Our women or TV, movies, social media, and so forth? Let's make sure the blame goes in the right source. And all those things are enemies to the community. But I ask this question all the time. At what point do we hold the women accountable for anything? Because it's been in our culture, and as a black nationalist, we've been raised in the culture to not see any faults within the women. And if there are some faults within the women, that they all came at the hands of black men somehow, some way. But at what point do we say the same women that will allow themselves to be matriarchs in the gynocracy that we call the black community? And at what point do we hold these sisters accountable for some of the things that Sister Shahrazad Ali stated earlier? The black woman has never been examined for her role in the destruction of the black family. She's never been examined. At what point do we do that? And I know, because for years I fought against, addressing these things for years. But listen, white children have the same access to TV and social media. Asian children, the social media, I see Asian kids on their phone the whole time, all day long on social media. Latino children have access to the same thing. Why is it different in our community? And if we say, well, the men have to stay there, then why do the women keep choosing the same types of men to procreate with? Why do they keep choosing bums? Because he has a swag, or as in the Crew of 1986, the young sister said, I like the way he walks because he was bow-legged. I just knew I had to have him. Like, at some point, we have to change and fix the culture, and it doesn't change unless we change and fix the women. The men will fall in line when the women assume their proper role. It's not the way it's been stated. The men have been supposed to be leaders, right? But how can you lead a rebellious group of women? It's like being on a ship. You're the captain, and you have men and women on the ship, but the women are trying to, they're knocking holes at the bottom of the bow. You see them fucking with the rudder. You say, yo, you realize we're going to go off course and hit some rocks. And they say, so what? I'm mad. I don't like you. I don't care for you. I've been raised to have disdain for you. I don't give a damn if the whole ship sinks. I'm going to continue this destructive behavior. At what point do we deal with that? At what point do we hold women accountable? Men are always going to be held accountable. At what point do we hold women accountable? I actually realized just today that it was my charge to carry on Sister Shahrazad Ali's question and quest that she's had in place since the 90s. Let me play it again. Let me mute my mic. Play it again.
There are a lot of women out there who think you don't like us, you don't like black women.
Oh, yes, I do. I love black women. I'm a black woman myself, and I got 5 daughters and 4 sisters, so that would, be ridiculous of anybody to assume that. As I said, we have just never had anybody challenge us on our behavior. We've never had anybody to say, well, let's look at what we do. We know what he does, and he's wrong in a lot of what he does. But his wrongness, his guilt does not ensure our innocence. We have a share in the problems that we have in the black community. And just because we are dressed up and have a job does not mean that we don't practice some aberrant behaviors that end up infecting our homes and breaking up our relationships with our men and helping to hold him down. That's all I'm saying. So everyone can look at themselves. Every man can look at his own woman. Everyone must study what slavery did to the black woman. We have never looked at it as an independent study.
May I ask you,
And that's all I'm saying. We have never examined how the black woman was handled and is consistently being handled. She doesn't feel as though she has to answer to anybody in the black community, not even other black women that tries to hold her accountable. We have to examine that. I've taken that as my charge. We have more than enough people holding black men accountable. I myself being one of them. We're not perfect. And as Sister Shahrazad Ali said, a lot of times black men lie to black women because we don't think that they can handle the truth of our situation sometimes. You can't handle the truth that I can't pay this bill this month. You can't handle the truth that I can't find a job. You can't handle the truth that I feel sometimes insignificant because I see so many men of greater stature than I trying to get at my woman. I can't, we don't. So a lot of times we have a lot of issues that we have to deal with that manifest into other things that our women feel. We understand that. We make bad decisions sometimes. But the upstanding men are the men that don't get the benefit of the doubt from our women. The slugs do. You see, and and what do you say, Bobby? You said, all I'm saying is that the ghettos are created, and until we come to the base of our problems, we will continue to deal with the symptoms. I understand that, Baba. I truly understand. But what part? Sometimes if you are trying to fix somebody's sick, and you're offering them things that'll help remedy their sickness, and they refuse to take the things that will remedy their sickness because they think that they're perfectly fine. At some point, they have to be responsible for the fact that they're sick. And that's what I'm saying about our sisters today. Appreciate you, Baba. Much love and respect. Look forward to seeing you this weekend. Brother Eric, you said some women will only be responsible if they are overpowered by a stronger person. And I will say by a stronger sense of circumstance, which is why you're seeing the soft movement now. The soft girl movement now, because a lot of sisters have read the tea leaves. They understand the writing on the wall, and they know that this white man is coming. This white man is coming for them. And just like, in Revelations, when they say the demons will be walking the earth and they'll devour our children, I can't keep looking past the fact that our children are being devoured. I can't. I don't give a goddamn whose feelings it hurts. I'm sorry. I see too much shit in my day-to-day life. I live on a block in an area. Anytime a 4 fucking radius, I'm hearing gunshots every night. Somebody's getting killed. Somebody's dying. I can't not say I don't want to hurt her fucking feelings. I'm sorry. I'm trying to maintain my composure here in all respect, Baba. But if our children are dying, I can't keep looking for academic responses to something when I'm seeing what's happening in front of my face. I'm in the supermarkets with it all happening. I'm in the department stores watching it happen around me. I can't do it. So, family, with that said, I'm going to call it a night. Just survived a crazy weekend. And, I think that, I appreciate you all. And like I said, if you're in Mississippi, northern Mississippi precise, look us up. We're also going to be addressing the Emmett Till situation. We're also going to be addressing the Mississippi water crisis this weekend. So until then, family, peace and Black power. Ashe. Hold on. Trying to get up out of here.